Okay, welcome back everyone. Let's go ahead and take a look now at the Module 4 Individual Persuasive Business Communicate Development Assignment number 1. Again, this was recently assigned to you, and let's go ahead talk about it, evaluate the original situation, and see if we can come up with at least one type of a rewrite for it. So let's go ahead and take a look. Again, this is the original situation. As we can see here, it's a letter. It is to a person by the name of Ms. Nancy Ashley, who is a human resources director for an organization called Software Enterprises. Now, from the premise of the letter, it appears that the person writing it is looking for an internship. Now, some things to consider here. We need to have, in reality, it should be a persuasive letter because you're trying to convince someone to do something they don't want to do. In this case, convince Miss Ashley to consider you for an internship. Now, the second thing we want to consider here is that the way this letter is currently written, it suggests that this is an open situation here. In other words, what we have is we don't know if we have a position available. Now, in sales, that's called a cold call. And by the term cold call, what we're suggesting is you're going to a company, a business, individuals. You don't know if they need your product, but you're going to try to convince them that, yeah, that they may. In this case, we don't know if Software Enterprises has an internship available. What the heck? We're going to give it a shot and see what happens. So let's go ahead and take a look at the specifics here. First of all, again, it is a letter to Ashley seeking an opportunity to be an intern at Software Enterprises. Again, it is a cold call. We don't know if they have a position or not. At least by the premise of the original written letter, we don't know that, so we assume that there is no such opportunity available at the moment. Again, here we go with a cold call, but we need to do it in persuasive tone. We've got to make that convincing statement. The original was not written in a persuasive manner. We need to, again, remember the logical flow of persuasive messages. We need to evaluate the original and determine what can or cannot be included. Now, persuasive messages can be either long or short. The big decision here is depends upon to what degree of convincing that is needed. Now, the convincing is basically the benefits. Are they direct or indirect benefits? Again, we don't know what's going to hit with individuals. We can guess. Maybe they're direct, maybe they're indirect. But the more that we can offer within reason of direct and indirect benefits, the better off the likelihood that someone's going to pay attention, find something that hits key with them, and be more attentive to what's going on. And also we need to provide more of a need to know information. If we start adding too much information, trying to be too specific with information, we run into some problems here. Fluff is good, but again, be careful. Don't over exaggerate when it comes to fluff, but we can certainly use fluff in this particular case. Now, some things that we might want to consider. Keep, dump, maybe consider. But first, again, let's take a look at what is persuasion. Persuasion, again, you need to start with a buffer. And the buffer is usually something that's going to entice someone. So we need to think of some way to entice. And as we review this, we're going to take a look at are we enticing? Then we move on into the benefits, if you wish. Then we deal with the any kind of situations where they may question it, they're not really too sure about it, and then finally we do a closing. So again, take a look here. Let's look at some of the keep stuff, some of the facts that might be and could be certainly useful. The address for Ashley, yeah, we got to keep that. We're going to use that. Dear Ms. Ashley's fine, dandy. Let's go ahead and keep that. Now, not necessarily the sentence here. Perhaps I could fill for employees who are taking vacations or who might be released for training at software enterprises. I'm not saying that you should use that sentence verbatim, but the concepts in there might be a good hook, if you wish, that's going to get Ms. Ashley thinking about, I've got a need, maybe something, maybe I should look at this farther. So again, not necessarily the sentence verbatim, but the concepts behind that sentence might be useful. Mentioning a college senior at Edmonds College, yeah, why not? It adds credibility to you. Certainly, a college senior would be far better off than a junior, maybe a sophomore, even a freshman. So a senior adds credibility to your position. Yes, it's good to mention something maybe about communication, computer skills. Be careful. I did keep green in here, Word and Excel. Now, again, I probably should have put that in yellow. It is important. It is about the computer skills, but it is somewhat limiting of yourself, and we'll talk about that when we actually do the rewrite. And also the training and letter and report writing again relates to the communication skills. Again, I might have kept that in yellow, or should have kept that in yellow, but we need to probably mention specifics when we talk about communications, computer skills, but we'll show you how I handle that in the rewrite. Moving down, I need to do this during the next 14 weeks. Well, again, be very careful when you start using exact numbers, figures, 14 weeks or looking up above 15 hours a week, afternoons only. You are very limiting of yourself. You need to kind of keep the door open on this. Remember, the letter is not going to get you the internship. The letter will at best get you an interview, a meeting. It is during this interview or this meeting is where the specifics will come out and can be negotiated at that time. Don't try to negotiate this kind of factual information in a letter, because there's no way of back forth communication where you cannot come to consensus. So be careful with that kind of stuff. And then finally, yeah, including a copy of your resume. That's a no-brainer. You've got to be doing that. If you're sending these letters out without a resume, you're wasting your time. And then the sincerely and all that good stuff at the bottom. Now the yellows. Okay, now let's take a look at some possible considerations. Now, possibly considered means you could include it. You may not include it exactly the way it is, in this case, written, but maybe the idea behind it is something to think about. And again, let's go ahead and start at the top here. The term internship. Well, frankly, I don't know how important that is for Ms. Ashley to know that this is an internship or not. The term internship could mean one thing to one person and something else to the totally different. Now, I'm not saying don't use it, but you can certainly maybe work it in so that it is at least mentioned, and in the event that she does have an idea of what the term means, that she will then know what we're talking about here. But I certainly would not make it very specific. This is what you're looking for. Moving on down, are these skills, coming up with this question, are these skills, might they be useful in one of your departments? Well, you know, I think it's kind of implied when you already talk about these. She has a pretty good idea of what might be needed. You've already planted the seed that people aren't going to be around, and she might be thinking about this. Well, I might need somebody in accounting, marketing, whatever the case might be. So that's already thinking. I would not go ahead and mention that. And then certainly, as I mentioned earlier, be careful with limiting yourself too soon. There are certain things you do want to talk about, and you want to talk about those in person because you can negotiate them. And in this case, it is the limiting of your availability specifically to the afternoons and the amount of time per week. You can kind of suggest that you may have limitations, but don't be very specific in the letter, because this could be a deal breaker for her. Even though you may have flexibility, she may have flexibility, unless you are there talking with her, she's not going to know it. So be very cautious about including that in there. Again, moving on, you may be worried about insurance. Well, she might not have been until you mention that. So why even state that? Finally, you can mention about liability insurance, but again, do it kind of as a sidebar, and certainly don't raise a question about insurance needs or liability. But we'll show you how maybe you can handle that in the final rewrite. And then the closing here, the call for the action. This is written as if you want Ms. Ashley to contact you. Now, we've mentioned over and over in your letters, you want to drive, you're driving the bus, you're starting the letter, you want control, you want to keep control. When you decide to stop driving the bus, relinquish the control, fine. In this case, though, you want to keep control from beginning to end. The way it's written now, you just gave up control. So we'll show you how to rewrite that. We've talked about that. We'll show you one more time. All right, finally, let's move on a little bit more. Let's look at the stuff we definitely want to not include. You don't want to say anything about you're looking for, in this case, an internship that's going to earn you 3 units of credit. Frankly, Ashley doesn't care. It could be 0 units, 3 units, 5 units. She doesn't care about that. So don't give her any information she doesn't need to know. You've taken a number of courses and now I really need some experience. Well, that sounds pretty ignorant. In my opinion, you've taken a number of courses. Well, what are the courses? I mean, they could be what? Finger painting 101, medieval art literature 103. So what? You've taken a number of liberal arts courses that may not be related at all. Who cares? Don't bother saying that. Moving on into the next paragraph here, I realize the equipment and desk space at your company may not be available for an intern. Okay, you're raising a question, but you're not really giving a solution. And even so, because you will be substituting for someone, chances are you will be sitting at that person's workstation. So dump it. Forget it. You don't need it. And then this here, kind of a little chuckly, humorous, but don't give it a thought. Don't try playing humor. Doesn't work. So dump that out. Now let's go ahead and take a look at this piece by piece one time here. The opening. Well, again, we got to start off with something that's catchy, something that's going to hook her in. And in this particular case, I'm using a question or maybe 2 questions. So how do you maintain a working staff situation during the heavily used summer vacation or employee training time frame? It's a question. It's making her think. It's drawing her into what you want to do. You are moving her in the direction. You're manipulating her into thinking about what you are going to offer. I also then threw in interested in a no-cost option. Well, now again, when I think of an internship, I think there's no pay involved. May not be so much nowadays, but if that's the case, well, that's great. Let's talk. Can maybe help you with missing people, and geez, you can do this for free. Wow, what's not to like? So let's go ahead and move on and see what the body looks like. Well, since I've raised the question, and in this particular case, I raised the interested in a no-cost option, I'm answering it in one single simple sentence. I believe that I am your option! Exclamation point. Why not? You're telling her you're raising an issue. You're saying, I can fix it for you. You got her hooked. Let's continue reading on. As a senior at Edmonds College majoring in business administration, okay, why not? You're adding credibility. You're almost done with school. You are majoring in business administration, right up her alley. I have business communication and computer skills at my disposal. Okay, these are the coursework you've taken. Now you're going to be a little more specific. I am experienced with Microsoft Office Suite 2016. Contrary to just saying Word and Excel, which are part of the Office Suite, you're saying the whole suite, which means you have experience with Access, with PowerPoint, with whatever else is part of the suite. Now, since you've taken with IDS 200, which is all about it, you would not be inaccurate. You may not be expert at it, but you have experience at it. Don't limit yourself just to Word Excel. Leave it open. Also, you have successfully completed coursework in managerial communication. To be specific, you know how to write letters, memos, and reports. Again, credibility, value. Again, these are all direct benefits. I can devote to software enterprises variable time during the upcoming summer term. Now, variable time, you're not saying afternoons only, you're not saying up to 15 hours a week. And you're also kind of giving her a hint, summer term. So again, these are enough to maybe get the interest so you can negotiate specifics. That's where you talk about afternoons. That's when you talk about 15 hours and 14 weeks, which is approximately a term. So again, but you need to do this face to face. And again, this letter is only going to, hopefully at best, going to get you the interview. That's all you hope to get where you can do this talking. Edmond College provides liability insurance for each of its students' interns. Again, this is a benefit. You're not suggesting that there might be a need for it, but you're just mentioning it as maybe the option's there. So you don't have to think about it. You don't have to say that. Now she's aware of it. To provide you with a better introduction to my background, I've enclosed a copy of my resume. Again, as I mentioned, you must always enclose resumes with these cover letters. Always refer to them as a supplement. This is a supplement. So again, further information, definitely enclose that. So here we go. Let's take a look at how we're going to close this thing out. Well, the closing. Ms. Ashley, again, make it personal. That's cool. Ms. Ashley, I realize that you are a very business executive. Again, this is a benefit. You are relating to her position, her authority. This is the warm, fuzzy type of stuff. And therefore, I'm going to call you on April 10, 2017 at 10 a.m. Again, I'm still driving the bus. Don't leave it up to Ashley to call you. You call her. And then mention why you're going to call her. Well, you're going to answer any questions you might have. Maybe share further details on your background, your qualifications, or availability. If you get this call through and you do talk to Ashley, what you have just done is had a phone interview. Okay. Again, the best you can hope for is an interview. Ideally, you would love to have a face-to-face, but if the phone call goes through, you've already made a great accomplishment that most people won't. You've had a phone interview, which is the next best thing to a face-to-face. Finally, appreciate your consideration, and I look forward to our conversation. Close it off. Sincerely, the usual. And in the next slide here, we're going to take a look and see how this looks in its final form. And here we go. Now, let's take a look at some things here. This is a personal letter. Okay, this is not a corporate letter. You are not going to have a letterhead. Generally speaking, most people don't. I have seen it. But you do still need to provide the recipient with information about yourself. Now, the writer of this letter is Susie Clueless, great name for this, and you will see that Susie's information appears at the very top, approximately where letterhead would be. But I have had it right justified, and everything is to the right. Her name, city, or street, city, state, phone number, and I put the email, her email address there. Now, the reason why I put it to the right is that it balances out the top of the letter. It could have been on the left. It could have been directly above the April 3, 2017 date, but then you would have had a significant amount of white space to the right, and it just would have looked a little off balance. So in my case, I moved it right justified. You could have had left justified, but this is just a little bit better looking. I've got the date. I put a date in here, and I've got Ashley's address. Now, someone asked a question during one of the strategy sessions, can we keep director on that line? Well, in this case, it doesn't look bad. If it is a very short corporate title, and it doesn't really overhang like halfway into the page, why not go ahead and keep it? You could have put it on the second line, but in this case it doesn't look bad. Now if Ashley was director of human resources and conformity or something like that, it would have been way too long, and that would certainly have gone to the second line. But I have the rest of her address information, dear Ms. Ashley, and here's how the letter looks. It is balanced nicely. It has all of the pieces in the right order. In this particular case, I didn't have to worry too much about the fill or the fluff zone because the letter fits naturally. But if it was on the short side, I might have added more space up around the address there in that fill zone. But as you can see, it doesn't look too bad. I've got the information in there. I have the signature in the blue or black ink. Notice that in this particular case, since you are a student, you don't have a corporate title and corporate information for a signature block, or do you? So I actually use what you are at this time, or Susie Clueless is at this time. And I made her senior, which she is, and I put down marketing major, Edmonds College. Why not? I mean, that tells pretty much your corporate standing, if you wish to call it that. So go ahead and use it. There's nothing wrong with doing that. Finally, and I wonder how many people who might have mentioned something about enclosure or attachment about the resume, I put down my enclosure statement at the bottom. Anyways, that pretty much covers evaluation of this particular assignment. If you have any questions, as always, let me know. Thanks. Have a great day.